This podcast is a 98 Studios production.
Today's the day, baby.
Today's the day.
Today's the day.
Today's the motherfucking day. Today is the day.
Today's the day.
Today is the day.
Today's the day.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to Today's the Day with Zack Andersen. We barely made this one work. This has been in progress for months, trying to find a time. Before I intro her, I want to just thank you, Miss Suli, for being here. I'm so excited to chat. I think it's going to be a blast. I think this is going to be a really, really, really standout episode for a lot of people. But before we get into it, before we get into your story, a little bit just so you guys know who you're about to hear from. This is Miss Suli. She is the first ever woman to get Golden Doors back to back in different industries, multiple Golden Doors. Obviously just kick ass in everything that she's doing. Over $6 million invested in real estate, running a family while she does all of this, which is, I think, a really, really big talking point that I want to dive into. And just an all around badass. I've known you. What is this? This is year 3 of knowing you.
This is year 3.
Year 3 of knowing you and kind of watching and being, absolutely loving you and adoring you. It's been amazing. So it's so cool to see where you're at. But before we dive into that, and we're going to get all the nuggets from you, all the mindset tips. I know there's going to be thousands of female reps or females in the space or females out of the space that are just going to love to hear from you because of what you've done. And just breaking barriers. It's going to be cool. But before that, give us the story. Fill us in. Who is Suli? Where are you from? How'd you grow up? What's the journey up until here?
Yeah. First, just your background and where you come from. I am grateful to even know you and just your story and the platform that you have. I'm super appreciative. And just the simple fact of how you want to elevate women in this space is why I'm stoked to be sitting on this seat today. And so just a little background on me. When most people see me, they're kind of confused on is she Black? Is she Tongan? Is she this, that, and the other? So I am half Tongan, a Pacific Islander, and I am half Black. And so I was raised by my great
That's a good
aunt.
Combo.
Yeah. I think
it's
it's
a combo.
So our children, Samoan children, they're cute AF.
Yeah, they are adorable. They are adorable.
So I was raised by my great grandma. My mom had me at 16 years old. And so my story to sales and door to door, I basically feel like it began at birth. In the sense, I grew up in a very humble home. The humans that raised me were some of the best, most spiritual people on this planet, but knew nothing about business, finance, mindset, or anything else that would basically elevate people in society. And so growing up on food stamps, living with cockroaches, shopping at the clearance aisle at Savers, at thrift stores, only being able to go and shop on the clearance aisle is basically how I grew up. But that literally taught me the work ethic, watching my grandpa literally hours on ends just going out and basically working 1 million hours a week, barely speaking any English for less than $40K annually. That's that's the examples that I watched growing up. Fast forward 2008, got back from a mission. So
you served a mission.
I did serve a mission.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I was living in California. I put in my mission papers, and of all places, they called me to Salt Lake City, Utah.
Let's go.
I basically almost tore up that mission call and was like, God, you've got to be kidding me. It was one of the most humbling experiences for sure. And crazy enough, I spent 16 of those months in Rose Park, never stepped a foot there. I felt like I was in a different country.
Yeah.
I ended up starting the only Swahili branch here. I had enough people baptized that we basically started a branch.
Let's go.
My APs and anyone who was in door to door was like, we're going to reach out to this girl as soon as her mission is done. So
I love that.
Mission ended, and both my APs reached out to me the same day within an hour. One was working for Vivint, one was working for Pest Control, and I adore them both. And the way that I made the decision was I've got to go with who called me first. That was it. And so the AP was with it. Yeah, I just felt
Respect.
loyal at that time. And I was just like, whoever called me first, I'm gonna give it a shot. And he was working with the pest control company that very first summer. And I was like, like, who wants to go and knock doors for money? Like, I did it for free and I loved it. There was a purpose, there was impact behind
For sure.
just talking about my beliefs. So it did take some selling. And he's like, Suli, at the end of the day, like for 3 weeks, come hang out with your mission buddies, come have fun in Seattle. And worst case scenario, you just hung out for 3 weeks. That's how they sell you. You come to hang out for 3 weeks.
And it's actually true. Although they're selling, it's actually true. It's
It
pretty
is
damn
true.
fun.
It is
fun.
true that 3 weeks turned into 12 summers with the
Yep.
same company. And ended up flying in, basically had holy shoes. I had $0 in my name. Just got back from a mission, broke as a joke. And ended up breaking the female record in the company that very first year, like not even on accident. It was just that work ethic that I grew up with and seen every single day, that if I got into something, my kids, like a pair of shoes and underwear was not going to be a necessity.
Yeah.
Like they were not going to need to be at Savers clearance aisle hoping that they found shoes
Yeah.
that would fit. And so
And it helped you probably not take it for granted too.
1,000%.
Right.
I watched that very first summer, just people like blowing money like left and right. And I felt so inferior because there was just a lot of white people on this team. And I definitely stood out, just not having a ton of mentorship. Like the only thing that I had was work ethic. That
Yeah.
was it, like nothing to my name. And so that very first summer, I ended up servicing 312 pest control accounts. And the record, I think at that time was like 306.
Yeah.
And I broke my record every year and held the record for that company as far as women for literally 5 years that I was there. All of my kids, I've knocked pregnant. I've even serviced more than my team leaders, even while knocking pregnant. And then my last son, or my third son, literally 4 weeks after giving birth to him, being told that I was going to have a 40% chance of life, I basically told the universe, if I was going to live after giving birth to this human, door to door was never going to be taken for granted. Apparently, obviously, I lived 4 weeks later with my newborn, showed up to area and serviced 712 accounts and broke my own record and every record at the company there. And transitioned to solar during COVID. Right after COVID, did my first golden door, transitioned into solar kind of by accident. And long story short, I'm still here in solar. I'm one of just those consistent humans, and I want to be able to help more women, not be a part of me, but just to stay in this space. Like, I just feel like that there's just a lack of training, a lack of like culture when it comes to us. And so for me, my purpose in this space is a lot more deep rooted.
Yeah.
I'm definitely financially well off thanks to door to door, the amount of like real estate that my husband and I own, the fact that he's able to be a full-time stay-at-home dad for literally the last 7 years, our kids being able to have a parent with them like 24/7. Like, this space has for sure 1,000% as a mom, as a CEO and a business owner, it has created a lifestyle that I only dreamt about when I was living with cockroaches and raised on food stamps.
It's so crazy and so quick too, because you say 16 years, right?
Yeah.
That sounds like forever.
It
And there's
does.
actually two sides to this, right? I want to dive into that is forever in door to door. The people who are there for 15 years and find growth, they create generational wealth.
Yep.
But the other side of it, in like a pretty, like a very normal outlook of like a career, 16 years is not that long.
No.
You're like halfway through your career, maybe.
Especially
right?
if I was only doing summers. I was really only working 100 days a summer, and I spent 8 months living.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you really have worked 8 years, right?
Yeah.
Been in the industry 6 years, really worked 8 years. And like what you've poised your life to do is so freaking cool. And the other thing, so I've got a ton of questions.
Okay.
One of them being, and then we can just chat and chop it up and anything that you think is helpful for people to hear, I would love it. Every one of my girl reps is going to listen to
Cool.
this. I'm going to make sure they all
Yes.
listen to it. So we'll get all the nuggets out of it. And I hope anybody that's trying to do something looks at it and it's inspirational, which I do believe it will be. That being said, I've found the reason for lack of success, so not failure, but lack of success that people want to get is because along the way, if there's a way out or a back door and you choose to take it, nobody can really blame you, but it will prevent you from finding the success you want to find. And what I've found is in the industry specifically that I'm in, for females, it's way easier to find back doors.
Yep.
Way easier. And like no one can say
Yep.
a dang thing. If you're pregnant and you're like, hey, I'm pregnant or I'm starting a family or whatever, you can't argue that. It's like,
Yep.
yeah, that's super, super, super valid. So for you, what was it? It was like, no, like, I'm like gonna go and even though there's all these back doors I could be taking, I've
Yep.
got multiple kids, I'm pregnant with another, right? I'm getting married and my husband can support,
Yep.
which is super common,
Yep.
right? What was like the no, I'm gonna go and for 16 years turn this into something that sets us up for the rest of our life. Like why?
Yeah. So, and I got the chills, like just even thinking about this. And so culturally, I was raised in the Pacific Islander culture. So all I know is just the Tongan
Mhm.
culture. And one of those things being perceived is the husband should be out, working and providing, and
Yep.
and the women need to be home.
Mhm.
And one thing that I haven't like spoken a lot about like publicly is the animosity that came, between my husband and I. Like my husband had a really great job. He was making six figures, as a welder. And I was doing this and family members were disowning me or kicking me out in the sense of like, what are you doing? You're traveling, you're leaving your husband behind, and your kids. And even my husband and I, we battled on the fact of like, which dream are we going to pursue? Like he can provide for us. He can do like all these things. And me going and doing door to door culturally was just going to have like, this stain and just a lot of like negative things like in our home. And it happened.
Mm.
And my husband and I fought. He didn't want to leave, welding field. And I'm stubborn. I wasn't giving up this either. If I could take something back, it would have been we made the decision sooner that one parent was always going to be home.
You said you would have made it sooner or you made it too soon.
No, I would have made it sooner. So what happened
Roger.
was because there was so much like animosity and fighting, my husband was still working. I would still go do sales and my kids would be here like in Utah hanging out with family.
Yeah.
So they would be like, they wouldn't have both parents. Like they would be like with the, their aunts and their uncles. So I'm grateful for my community and people like helping raise my kids that allowed me to do what I wanted. But that time I'm like, if I could go back, it would have been one of us we created a life, one of us should have been home type of thing. And so I preface.
Which is where you're at now, which
Yes.
is like, it's amazing.
Yeah. And so I preface with that because the back door, and this is really for managers, for leaders, for people in growth, not to like boast or a lot of things, but if you're really good at something and you create value and solve enough solutions, multiple people are going to come after you.
Mhm.
They're going to come with like the offerings. They're going to, hey, this is better here. Hey, you should do this. The grass is greener over here. You should do XYZ. You're going to get more quicker. Because of the group of people that I was in business with, and it was the small things, the remembering my birthdays, the knowing my kids' names, the asking about like vacations and things like that. It didn't matter how many backdoor offers that I got or how many other opportunities. That culture and just like the personal dynamics of the people who cared for me while doing business, it made all the difference. I knew that I was making way less than I could like anywhere else. But the one thing that I would take away, like I'm not this special human. I am just more consistent than most humans, And that was the biggest difference for me. I told myself, if I was going to be doing this, I'm not going anywhere else. I'm
Mhm.
going to be watering the grass. I'm going to cut all bridges. I'm going to cut all ties. And if I am going to be going all in, the only way I can do it is just cutting out everything. So
Mhm.
anytime someone reached out about an offer or anytime someone did this, I wouldn't even entertain it. I wouldn't even set up like a meeting. I wouldn't even go and whatever, because all that it would do is make me think on the doors, what if?
Mhm.
And the what ifs are what's killing people in this space. You need to make a decision and then that's it. Do I know that we can all go make, more money somewhere else? Yes. But your reputation, your name, your consistency, that's what's going to follow you. And I wanted to be known as that one human that would outwork anyone else. And that's
Mhm.
all it was. I didn't have anything special. It was just everyone knew that they were going to be able to count on Suli. And to this
Mhm.
day, that's the one thing I can take with me anywhere else,
Mhm.
that there is just no backdoor offers that would make sense to the fact of what I'm doing for me and my family right
Mhm.
now. We're exactly where I'm at.
That makes perfect sense. in moments where you have like an opportunity where you could have gotten out. So a very common trend in the space in door to door, even for people who are incredibly good,
Mhm.
even for 22-year-olds that are making $250,000, right? Which sounds crazy. And if people, obviously a lot of the audience has heard a lot of door to door people come on here, so they're familiar. And a lot are also not. They just listen. They're like, what are these people talking about? It sounds like a scam, whatever. There are 22-year-olds making $250,000 or more, maybe younger, maybe older, who cares? People making very, very professional money,
Yeah.
living a lifestyle that's like desired by everybody, that are consistently looking for a way to just like be done or get out.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like they're like 5 years in and they're like, oh, dude, I've been doing this 5 years. I thought I was only going to do it a year. It's like, well, dude, look what it's turned into. And I'm like, I'm doing this for 10 more. I've said 10 more years every year, and it just resets every year
Let's
for 10 more
go.
years because I love it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and there's not
Same.
anything else that I could go find
Same.
right now to go and do. Like, why did you not have that approach your first 10 years and your 12th year and your 11th year? Like, okay, I'm going to get out of it. Like, I can't wait to get out of door to door. Like, it's such a weird, does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, 1,000%. And here's the thing, getting out to what is like the bigger question. Getting out to go and clock in and, get health insurance and, have people take out like taxes, or getting out so you can be home for dinner 3 times a week, or getting out so you can go travel. For me, it's always just like, I am a big firm believer, like, my life is created around door to door. Like, door to door is not created around my life.
Mhm.
And so all of this like backdoor thinking, or backdoor, like people want to do it for this much to go and do what? They haven't created enough in door to door to recognize, holy shit, this is more impactful. Like, I am looking at my 5-year-old son, and this space is going to create generational wealth for his grandkids.
Mhm.
Like, that's how far I'm looking, but I'm like, the back door to get out and go what?
It's so weird. It
Like,
really, like, it's, and it's
yeah.
become, the longer I do it, so I'm on my 9th season, and the longer I do it, I realize that's like a very common, and I've even actually, you know what's weird is I've actually caught myself with enough people around me talking about getting out. I'm like, oh yeah, that would be nice. And then it literally gets to the point of like, what the hell would I do?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what I would do with myself.
Yeah.
And I also think it's like, I also have developed the thought and the outlook. It's like disrespectful to look at it that way. It is so, so, so undermining and disrespectful to the people who have spent years and decades and blood, sweat, tears building up the industry to what it is, to
1,000%.
consistently want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like if you want to get out, but they won't because they're making the money, but then they're going to want to
Exactly.
always, like, it makes no sense. And like, I guess I'm glad you said that, because my advice lately has just been, if you don't want to be in it, don't be in it. But if you're in it, be in it.
That part.
Like, if you're in it,
Yeah.
do it.
And those are the tricky people who are in like the gray area. Cause I'm like, yeah, have I looked for other avenues to be home more with my kids? Like, full transparency, yes, but never with my feet out of door to door. Like,
Yep.
period. I'm never going to go somewhere where it's going to tie me down to the fact of like, I have to clock in. I have to ask for permission for vacation. This space allows me to not ask for permission for anything.
Yeah.
For getting up and going, hanging out with my kids, for deciding to go fly to New York and have dinner with the chef, with my kids, to
Yeah.
being able to like, yes, I want to go and take my kid on a trip like over here.
Yep.
Like, I do not have to ask for permission in this space.
Yep.
When I get out, there's going to be a lot of asking for permission.
A lot.
Because it's like you still are going to be working. And how much more fulfilling is that going to be if you don't have your freedom? If you are going to be in and doing it properly, you're not going to be looking for ways to go out.
Exactly. And I think so, like, and this may be super scary to hear, but it's like the end goal for everyone is to get to the point where retirement's a funny word. I think real retirement is when you choose to work because you want to work, not because you have to, or you
Yeah.
have to make money.
Yes.
I think that's like really the goal,
Yes.
right? And I think the sooner in life you can accomplish that, the
Yep.
better. Like, that's just the way that I see
I
it.
feel the same. I'm on my path to a financial retirement,
Yep.
but not for impact retirement. And that's
Exactly.
why I'm never going to be out of door to door. Like, I truly believe that quote that leaders just save more lives, than surgeons.
Yep.
And I just truly believe in like the impact that comes from door to door and being able to help people create nothing or create something out of absolute nothing.
Yep.
Like, to grow up on welfare and freaking like cockroaches and all these things, to be a multi-million-dollar like earner, like, where else can you go and do that without a freaking degree, without like having someone hold you
Or
hand, like,
insane risk, because everyone's like, oh, then you could go start a business. Totally true,
Yeah.
right? Totally true. And you totally can. 95% of businesses fail and go under,
yes.
right? You totally can. The amount of risk that you absorb and the when you go start a business, you're looking at a 10 to 15 year thing before you're making real good money
1,000%.
in most cases. And I think that's where like I wish I could impress this on all of my people and anybody in door to door. It's just like, if you view it that way, like, I want to financially retire, and you realize, okay, there's really not anywhere else I could go and do this. And you took, I know everyone talks about a 5-year approach, but like a literal 15-year approach.
Yeah.
Like, and you can just be like, okay, I'm 20 right now. By the time I'm 35, if I really go do this big, and just think bigger than you have ever thought,
1,000%.
you could literally by your mid 30s or late 30s, even in the worst case of scenarios, be in a situation where then you can work because you want to work
Yes,
and
be
because you want to make an
financially retired.
impact and all of that. And you could be set. And there's a
Yeah,
million
like
ways to do that,
I am very big on teaching the concept of like door to door is the vehicle for the rest of your life. Like,
Yep.
it is the vehicle for the happiness for the rest of your life, in the sense of, yes, do you want to go and own restaurants? Do you want to go create passive income? Do you want to go be like a coach for your kids like basketball game? Do you want to go and like be a mentor? Do you want to go help people in welfare and prisons or in all those things? The amount of people and good that we can do in society because door to door is a vehicle, like, we are phenomenal humans in the door to door space, like
Yeah.
smart business owners and all these things. Like, going to school, getting degrees, like, great. Like, how many people do you know can you sit at the table that are multimillionaires that can teach you how to create a business from scratch, that can teach you communications skills, negotiation skills? The vehicle of door to door, if you look at it as a lifelong platform of education and business building, like, you are going to be set for life. I tell my reps all the time, like, hey, what is it that you want to like, what are you passionate about? I have someone who's just like, yeah, I want to build, like, I want to have restaurants, I want to be able to do this. Great. What does our vehicle and door to door need to look like for the next however long, so that you can have that doing its thing on the side as well?
Exactly.
And so for me, it's just like, if people want to go start businesses, I am. I have like multiple businesses that I have nothing to deal with, but the passive income is coming because I'm focusing on my main thing.
Mhm.
And my main thing is door to door. And it's not just a hit it and quit it type of thing if you want to do it right.
Yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing is, even the people who have the hit and quit it mentality, like, oh, dude, I'll do one more year,
Mhm.
always end up being there for 8 years.
Mhm.
And it's like, dude,
That
if
was
you
me.
just would have looked at it a little bit longer term, you could have gotten so much more out of it. So I love that. Anytime I talk to somebody who's been in the space for 15 plus years,
Yep.
like that right there that's a very small, finite group of people. I want to like impress that point upon people because it's so common.
Every year for 10 years, I tell my husband I'm not doing door to door again. And then back ends hit and I get another rental property and I'm like, fuck. All right, let's go.
Yeah,
out.
let's go.
So I just
Well,
stopped saying it because it's just like, I know that there is nowhere else that I can go and make $100K in a summer and go and get multiple rental properties and go and travel the world with my kids. Like, there's just nowhere else. Even if I did this part-time for the rest of my life, there is nowhere else
Exactly.
that I can go and do that.
It's so unique. So, okay, so a few questions for you. So your first summer going and setting the all-time female record at your first company, multiple golden doors in multiple different industries, the only female to ever do that. Like, your top 1% of producers and performers,
Yeah.
right? What separates, like, genuinely, is it a massive separation from the people who are absolutely taking over and the people who are doing pretty good? or is it a minuscule? Like, what is the separation? What is the difference?
Yeah. If you guys have never read the book Closing the Gap, you definitely should. Like the gaps between people who are multimillionaires or millionaires to six-figure earners, it is small. And I think that that was like the biggest difference for me. What separates me from most people, I can barely spell. Like I'm not like the best reader, but I am the most consistent at the basics than most reps in the door-to-door space.
Mhm.
Like 16 summers later, and like even this morning, I got up to write out my setter script, and I'm not knocking or doing anything today whatsoever. But for me, and I will say this time and time again, I am just consistent.
Mm.
That is it. When I was doing pest control, it was from 9 to 10. And the years that I was competing, it was from 9 to 11. My husband and the other spouses were trying to compete to see which one of us were going to be home first, and none of us wanted to be home first.
Mm.
And then transitioning, to the solar industry, that's all that I took with me is I was going to be consistent about my routine, about the time that I was going to be putting on the doors. Like that is it. Like those are like my two nuggets. Too many people are like, they'll get too many zeros in a row. And it's like, oh, this sucks. Let me look at other avenues. Let me check out other back doors. Let me do this. And for me, it's just like, I am going to be consistent until I have made it. And that's it. And I haven't made it. It's
Yeah.
16 years. I haven't made it because I'm not at 500,000 passive income yet. So my ass is still here.
Yep, exactly. I love it. I love it. So, I mean, that part is so, I think, so crucial for people to realize. And the longer that I do it, the more I realize it's a 2 millimeter difference. Like it really, truly is. And one of the biggest ones is just the one initial decision, because I think a lot of people have great intentions. They have even really good goals and really good shoulds in life.
Yeah.
But they don't have standards where it's like they've made a decision one time, they don't have to make it again, right? Once you've made the decision one time and you've really, really decided, okay, I'm here, I'm going to work all of the hours and then some, and I'm gonna make sure my morning routine is dialed, and that's it.
Yep.
If everything else goes to shit, I don't care.
Yep.
If my nuggets, my whatever you have made the decision on are dialed, I'm good. It prevents you from everything crumbling around you, because at that point, when you're having to continually make the decision of, oh, am I gonna work today?
Mm-hmm.
And you get decision fatigue, and then you're actually tired from having to make the decision of if you're going to work, where you could have made the decision the first day of summer, or the first day of the year, or whatever it may be. Or, oh, am I going to go on this next blitz? Like, am I going to be able to fit it in my schedule, make it work? It's like, homie, if you don't think there's people busier than you out running that blitz, you're
1000%.
Crazy. Like they've just decided
I laugh
they're gonna.
at people when they tell me like how busy that they are. I'm like, okay, VP running a team, moms, and I still like it doesn't make sense to me. Like people don't want it enough.
No, it literally is just it's a standard, or it's a decision that hasn't been made, or a standard they don't hold themselves to, which is really interesting, right?
And that's what I love about alchemy and like what you guys like do there. It's just like it's the standards. Like you guys are holding people to a higher level of standards, and I think that those are the humans in the door-to-door space who are leveling up to the 1%. For me, I don't need my managers to hold my hand. I need them to give me a platform. I need them to give me tools. But at the end of the day, they're not going to be the ones to come and feed my kids. They're not going to be the ones to come and pay my car note, to come and do all those things. So my standards are, my livelihood is dependent on me, not about Zaza coming and rah-rah, shishkumbami, motivating me every day. Like motivation leaves. Like are your standards as high as the goals and the visions that you're wanting to hit? So many people want to hit 100,000. So many people want to do 1 million in a year, but their standards, the things that they're doing, does not align with the 7-figure earner. That's
100%. 100%.
That's it.
And the one thing that I've noticed as well on top of that, because then you have, I love listening to principles and trying to poke holes in them, right? Because I think that's when you get the deepest understanding of a principle. And the principle of you will rise or fall to the level of your standards is 100% true. But the caveat, and I think the part where people are like, oh, well, like, dude, I was doing that. It's like, okay, was means you're no longer. And what that means is you put a time limit on it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people go, and they really do, the first week of summer, they're like dialed. They're reading, gym in the morning.
Yeah.
They're role playing. They're working the hours like crazy. Right. Second week, they're doing pretty good, like maybe 90% as good as they did the first week. And then the next week, they're doing maybe 10% less. Then you get to week 6 of summer.
Yeah.
And they've stopped reading entirely. they've gotten enough bagels that they're frustrated and they think something's wrong in their standards. So they start changing their standards around. They try and go learn a whole new something,
script or pitch or
a
whatever.
whole new magic pitch that's just going to sell everybody because theirs wasn't selling anybody. And it's like, dude, you just need to do what you did for the first week for 20 weeks straight. And I guarantee you're good.
Yep.
Guarantee you're good.
Literally that. So I did pest control for 12 summers straight, stuck to the basics. I tell everyone that those 12 summers was basically a head start or a catapult of all of the basics, my standards and fundamentals that basically just shot me 10x coming into solar. Like 12 years. It wasn't just summers. It was 12 years of mentorship, of routine, of doing all of those things. You know, it took a few years before making my first million to doing that exactly my very first year of transitioning from pest control to solar. And it was because of 12 years of standards that it just it showed year number 13 when I transitioned somewhere else. Like this was a stepping stone of standards to like, holy heck, a whole new world that I'm like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, you take really, really high standards and put them into a better machine or whatever you may call it, a higher return for your effort. And it's just crazy. And then you run into, I mean, there's tons of people. I came from a different industry now into solar, right? And solar is unique. And like people joke about it, but it's very,
solar
very
creates
true.
laziness. Let me put that out there.
Solar breeds laziness. It is insane. I have guys, and like this is for everybody. This is for my top producers. And I love pest control.
Same.
My favorite people in the world to go and recruit are pest control reps because they work harder than anyone. Right? Or maybe not even harder, but they're willing to just put in the reps more than anyone.
Exactly. A lot more consistent.
Exactly.
Yes.
And like if you can carry that into and I think they're all great. All door-to-door is great. But if you can go and just master the basics of I work this many hours, for me it was contacts in a day. I broke down the math all the way based off a whole year of data. This is how many contacts it takes for me to make this much money. I want to make that much money, so I got to talk to this many people. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
And then my daily thing was I talked to that many people. So if it's 9:45 and like it caused problems sometimes, but it was the standard set that also propelled me to go be the top. If it's 9:45 and I just got out of a late deal, but I haven't got my contacts that day, I'm knocking 10 more doors till I talk to 5 more people. 4 of them may cuss me out because it's 10:15 now, 10:30 p.m. But if I see their lights on, but then that 5th one's dope. They're in the garage, they're smoking, hanging out. And next thing you know, they've got cameras getting installed at midnight, right? It's not allowed anymore. So
1,000%.
So Vivint reps, I don't think you can install that late anymore. But that was a very consistent thing. That was once, twice, maybe 3 times a week.
Yeah.
You compound that over 7 years of doing that, 3 nights a week, an extra deal, not to mention how much more just like calloused I was. It was like, oh, it's dark, it's 6:30, daylight savings on a blitz. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll knock when it's dark and midnight. I don't care. Like,
what people don't recognize though, Zah, with you like saying that about your standards at 9:45, you know, that 5th contact is going to be the one who's going to be dope, is you are training your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind doesn't know right or wrong. The fact that you're telling yourself like, hey, I haven't hit like this amount of contacts, you have basically told yourself that you keep the promises that you make to yourself. The more times that we're like, oh, it's late, it's dark, it's whatever, you're training the subconscious mind to be like, oh, this is when I flee. This is when I look for back doors, is when things aren't going right. Oh, they just said like not interested. Okay, now let me go in and do that. What people don't recognize, the PhD that comes from door to door is a subconscious mind that you are up leveling to basically say, I always do what I say I will, or I don't do what I say that I will. And you doing that, like simply just being like an example of that, is what separates you from a lot of people like in this space. And pest control reps. Those are the ones who are dominating the solar space. I am just like, I'm one of those types of humans. I don't care if I'm making $1 off of a deal or if I'm making $40,000 off of a deal. My subconscious mind is always going to be focused on my stats. How many conversations, how many doors, how many hours. That's all that matters. Like it doesn't matter how little or how much. And in the solar space, a lot of people, it's just, they chase the dollars, or it's just like, oh, I got this one deal, I'm chill.
Yeah,
like,
I'm chilling. I just got a $20,000 deal. And then it cancels 2 weeks later, and now you're in a financial tough spot. You know what's really cool too? So you just nailed this, and I think a way for people to understand it. everybody listening, like, and me included, the reason I say everybody listening is because I know everybody struggles with it at some point. Self-consciousness is a massive, massive defeater of success. Like, being self-conscious and not having self-confidence is a massive
1000%.
hindrance on success. With that being said, all self-confidence is, and the only way to control it, build it, or tear it down is you keeping promises with yourself.
Yep.
That's it. You keep a promise with yourself, you build your self-confidence a little bit. You keep another promise with yourself, you build your self-confidence a little bit. Like, I can't tell you how many times I didn't want to knock all those late doors. I didn't
Same.
want to knock 5 doors after dark, no matter what. That was one of my standards. I didn't want to go and knock until whatever time in this competition. Like, I didn't want to. After a couple years of doing it, though, there was no moment where I wasn't confident
Yeah.
at all. Like, I could be at the end of the day on a bagel, and I promised my group I wouldn't bagel, and it's 9:15, and I haven't bageled in 100 straight days. I'm not tripping. Like, I'm not tripping at all.
No.
Like, I know it's going to work. And then I end up selling my last 2 doors of the day, and I get a 2 spot, and everyone's like, holy crap, I thought you were going to bagel. And it's like,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't at all, because my self-confidence was through the roof, because I was, and Bodie Gardner was really helpful for that for me, and Casey. Like, it was preached, I do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And if I'm not going to do it, I just don't say it. Like, I don't, like,
Exactly.
just don't say it. You don't
Yeah.
have to do anything.
Yeah. Don't commit.
You don't
start.
have to
Yeah.
go and go on this crazy diet.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and be this beast in the gym working out 3 hours a day. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But if you say you're going to do something, show the hell up and do it every time.
That part.
Like, and that's self-confidence. And I think anyone who struggles with being self-conscious and not having self-confidence, just tell yourself you're going to do something and start doing it every day. And then tell yourself you're going to do something else and do small things. Make your bed, right? Making my bed is like the biggest thing for me. When I'm in like my struggle points in life, I let myself know, okay, I have no commitments to myself right now,
Just make.
but making my bed. Like, life is really tough right now. Things are going sideways. Things are going really, really bad. I'm going to make sure I do my nuggets, like my basic thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my bed every day. I'm going to write my goals out every day. I'm going to read 10 minutes at the end of the day. And I'm going to have at least one phone call telling someone I'm grateful for them. Those are my nuggets.
Oh,
Like,
I love that.
that's it.
Yeah.
And like, that gives you permission to not go to bed on time and to not be up at 4:45. Because I've realized I'm not like that. I'm not a Bodie Gardner.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a 10-year routine where I wake up at 4:45 a.m. and I go lift and I do a 7-day blueberry fast. I'm just not going to do it.
But
right?
you're consistent in your standards. And
Yeah.
that's the big point.
Exactly.
I
And then
love
when
it.
I'm on my game, I'm like, okay, I'm working a minimum of 10 hours a day right now. I'm going to hold at least 5 recruiting calls a day. I'm going to do, and I ride the waves of momentum because I think there's seasons for everything.
Yep.
And I think
I
that
agree.
was something I actually struggled with at the beginning of Door to Door, was I almost tried to hold myself to too high of a standard,
Yeah.
too consistently for too long. And I never took my foot off the gas. And it got to the point where it was like unhealthy. Like, I got stress-induced shingles at 19 years old, which is not a thing.
Holy cows.
It's
huh?
not a thing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get that when you're like 70.
Yeah.
So I think like giving yourself permission, but not allowing your self-confidence to waver by being like, okay, cool. I'm like dog sick right now. Like, I'm not going to go run my regular everything. I'm dog sick right now. I'm going to get healthy. This is how I'm going to get healthy, but I'm not going to waver on these things that
Yeah.
are like my
1000%.
nuggets.
And we don't recognize that like these standards and the principles and the things that we're learning here in Door to Door are what kids 19, 20 to 40 years old are going into debt to go and get bachelor's
Yep.
and master's
Yep.
degree in, to only have to go and get hired at Chick-fil-A and McDonald's or Walmart. But it's just like all of these standards and the things that you are holding, how does it like translate into business, into your personal life,
Yep.
into everything else in society? People, I mean, I know plethoras of door-to-door people who are now like, hold positions in the community and are able to just like give back like a ton more because a lot of these principles and standards that we held here that basically elevated financially.
Yep.
And now we're able to show back up in our communities and our society as like exemplary humans because of the door-to-door space.
Yeah.
Literally, people are going into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to learn and do exactly what you're sharing right here, what you teach to your
It's
what you
so
teach to your
crazy.
reps.
It's so crazy. And also it's like you just talked about a part of it that I talk to my people about all the time, that like you don't realize you're working out muscles. Like, you're working out different muscles. You're working out resilience. You're working out being able to face rejection consistently. You're working out how to keep your like inner peace and your attitude like completely separate of your surroundings,
Yeah.
which is like, I think the most valuable thing. And when people are like, well, how does it help in your personal life? Yeah, there's the obvious things like communication, like learning how to like hold yourself to a high standard, learning good habits. You can learn that other places. What you can't learn other places is when it feels like the whole world is crumbling around you. You got to show up with your freaking chest up, your chin up, and you got to go do your shit.
Yeah.
Like in door to door, that is a constant.
Yeah.
That is a constant when you, especially when you get into leadership, when you're a manager.
1,000%.
If you don't feel that, then your managers or your uppers are doing something incredibly valuable you don't even realize. If you don't feel that like the world is collapsing around you on a monthly basis,
Most managers
then your uppers are taking that weight off of you, just so you know.
You're welcome.
Right? Yeah, you're welcome. But that you're gonna feel that consistently. And most people, like I talk about this all the time, like door to door is a parallel, and I get all woo-woo with it. And people like, you can call me whatever. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, whatever.
Give me the Kool-Aid all day.
All day.
Give me the Kool-Aid.
All day, Suli. But think about it. Most people don't experience that amount of stress in their life. Right? Like let's take an example of someone who follows a very traditional route that my parents would have preferred me to take, right?
Same.
Get out of college, right? I go to college, actually. Let's start with that because I dropped out.
Same.
I graduate college. I get a normal job. I'm in debt. I get married quick. We have some kids so they can have grandkids. And now the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is literally college. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, right? And now we're married. When do you think is the first time I experienced the amount of stress that you experience as a leader out in summer when you find out you have to switch markets in July and you don't know where you're going to go?
Yeah, or probably when you got to pay the mortgage, do all the things.
Probably when you
your
literally,
first fight.
your first massive fight with your spouse, right? Your first time you can't pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to say, the first time I felt that amount of stress as a leader in door to door, I crumbled. Like I fell apart. I handled it like a 12-year-old bitch.
Yeah.
Like that's all I can say.
Same.
And if I can't show up in my relationship and handle things as like a seasoned veteran, right? That's how it helps in your personal life, in my opinion. When you're with all your siblings and there's a family member that passed away, or you're having to have that family intervention where things are just going sideways and no one can keep their emotions in check, and you're like the rock, even though you're not the oldest, you're not supposed to be, but you're the rock. That's where it helps you in your personal life. And like, I don't think people understand that enough or talk about it enough.
Yeah, and just like the cultural dynamics and things like that. I mean, even, getting disowned and all those things for like me specifically. And at this time, I was co-managing and doing all those things. And it's like I could crumble and I can feed into the way that like the culture was born and things like that. Or it's just like, hey, my husband and I are going to stand in our power. We're going to continue doing what we feel like is the right thing, even though it was like a stress on our marriage. And now it's like, those same humans, like, oh, can you help us with this? Can you do this? They're like, oh, great. Suli's like up there. But had I feed into the same thing, like, arguing back and doing all these things, I may not be, I might not have the family ties that I still have to this day because of learning how to be level-headed. And I just want to think like the male leaders, like in this space, because you were talking about like crumbling. And I think that that's the thing for us, like women in this space. And I know for me, is being able to have the male leaders who are vulnerable enough to allow us the space to crumble. And I just always had that fear. I never wanted my teammates. I never wanted people to see me like cry, do all of those things. But I had like male leaders that allowed that space for me behind closed doors, who would coach me, teach me, and do all those things. And I was able to take those same principles into my marriage, into my family, into everything else. Because it's like, okay, if I'm going to be having issues with so-and-so, or I see like the cultural dynamics, it's how do I get it to where they're not like bleeding on social media or doing all of these things where everyone needs to know the 24/7 what's happening. And it's like, hey, how do we get you guys to like resolve this? And then find out that it really is just a lack of communication.
Yeah, exactly.
And like there is so much to be taken to my personal life because of the things that we are teaching and learning here.
It's so crazy. And like being able to be seasoned, I think, is so important. And as you just said, how freaking important are mentors?
Yeah.
Like, and all a mentor is, right? Because that I think that term gets thrown around too much, and people think they need to have a mentor that they go to for everything. No.
Yeah.
You can have 50 different mentors for 50 different things. And all a mentor to me is somebody who's done something I want to do, been through it, right? And that when I'm crumbling, I can go to and be bawling and be like, yo, C-ball, like, I'm losing my mind here. I'm stressed out of my mind, right? Obviously, I don't like to cry in front of people, so I usually cry first, and then I go over there and like sniffle it up, right? But like, I'm losing my mind. He's like, dude, been there 15 times, homie.
Yep.
Do this, this, and this, and just watch it pass. And like I can have even 1% of confidence that, oh, it might work out because when I was alone crying in the shower, it seemed like there was no shot anything was going to work out. But then when I'm with a mentor, it's like, oh, wow,
Everything.
like you've done it 15 times. Got it. I'm going to take your advice. And even if it's a little bit of faith too,
Yeah.
I'm going to have the faith. How cool are mentors? Like that's.
No, and I feel like the same as you. And I tell people, yeah, you can have 50 million mentors and things like that. But to just elaborate on that, if you are in, want to be the best mom, or if you're in alarms and want to be the best alarm reps or want to be the best solar reps, your mentor is someone that you would want to switch places with, who has already been where you want to go. Not these gurus who are on the same level as you, or like yada, 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 or this, and that. If your focus right now is alarms or roof or solar, you are going to find someone who you would switch places with in that spot. And it's the same thing for me. I look for like, marriage mentors and mom mentors. And I'm like, I look at their dynamics and I see where they're at. Those are the people that I would trade places with. And if they're broke and if they're crumbling and if they're doing all those things, I'm not taking their information.
Because it's not going to serve you, right? And I think like, dude, there's so many things, and one of the most important things Casey ever told me, who is one of my earliest mentors, was if somebody is truly successful, authentically successful, they will always help you. And if you reach out to someone and they won't help you, it's not as good as it looks.
I love that.
And you know how weird that is there were people that I wanted like sales advice from. And then you fast forward 4 years and they've been fired from 4 companies and they wouldn't give it to me. They it was their secrets. They wouldn't, whatever. But then there's people where I've interviewed people throughout my entire, I literally do it now just on camera. Right? And it's like the people who will just open up and share everything, even if they're a direct competitor. It's crazy, right? They're thriving now, thriving. And it's like, that is so dang true. If there's someone who is truly successful in any area, they will help you in that area willingly.
1,000%.
It's so strange.
Yeah, that's the abundant mindset that I feel like it does get tricky in the door-to-door space. There is a little bit of scarcity and like, oh, if I need to hang on to this, or I need to go over here in order to get this, or I need to do X, Y, Z. But that abundant mindset of like how much we can actually help people and help each other. Like that quote of your managers like have a vision and a dream so big, and you're recruiting everyone to your vision and to your dream until you have personally helped them create and fulfill their visions and their dreams. And I truly just like live and believe that I'm like, the more that I am going to be helping and teaching, like I feel like I do that often. It's why I love having platforms. I don't care what polo women work for. Like I want you guys to plug into the podcast. I want you guys to win. I want you guys to find success wherever it is. And I'm a firm believer of Casey too. Like the ones who are winning and will win in life are going to be the ones who are going to turn around and help.
And I will say this on abundance, and you're probably better than me. You for sure are.
I've had scarcity mindset.
But there's definitely times where it sinks in. So I think like people listening, like my number one goal, and I think something that helped me is when I started hanging around people who are just viewed as like built different, like the Todd Petersons of the world. I realized, dude, they're just like really good people. Like they're just like us. There's not like a special thing. They're just really good people. They're very consistent and they hold themselves to their standards. So like to empathize with everybody who's been in the scarcity mindset there. I mean, there are times where when things feel like nothing's going your way with your region, we're losing reps or whatever. There have literally been times where I'm like on a down month and I'm freaking out and I'm like trying to scramble to make it work. And then a direct competitor who I've been recruiting against asked me to run their call with them and like give a training. Every ounce of me wants to be like, hell no. Like, yeah, good luck, buddy. Or like, yeah, I'll do it. And then bail last minute, right? Because you want it, right? I've been so guilty of that. But then it's like, that never serves you. And then you realize you go give a training on their call and one of their people ends up being a massive help to you. Like abundance is just the bulletproof way to go and reassure success. And it's Think and Grow Rich. It's every book you go read about the psychology of success, right? And having an abundance mindset is so key. It's crazy. So I love it. I mean, we could riff all day. So
seriously,
a couple questions, right? You train people, you help people, you coach people, you speak, you mentor people, and you're in it. Like you're in the thick of it.
I am.
Let's just say in life, in the world, right? Like what are we missing the mark on right now? Like I see there's so much negativity. There's so much like everyone's lacking. Everyone's like held down according to them. Everyone has it so tough. And like I've been super lucky to go and do like charity trips even where you go and you go build houses in South Africa.
Yeah.
Right. And then you realize like you go do that shit for a
Yeah.
week. Anyone who's negative, go do that shit for a week. What are we missing that's making everyone in such a privileged country? Because most people that listen to this are in the United States.
Yeah.
You are privileged if you're here. Go and have such a like negative.
Yeah.
What are we missing? Sorry to pivot on you like that.
No,
but I'm
you're
really
good.
curious.
I truly believe it's fear. It is absolute fear in the fact of failure, of like, hey, okay, if I go vote for this person, someone's going to perceive me as this way. If
Yeah.
I go to this company, someone else is going to perceive me as this.
Mm.
If I don't do what mom and dad says, I'm going to be perceived like this way.
Mm.
Like in my career of the last like 16 summers, I've almost lost my life. I've literally been on doors knocking while, the person who raised me passed away, buried my mom a few weeks ago while being on a blitz. But the biggest thing that has like I've taken away from like the door-to-door space is what I learned in different countries. Like my kids have probably been to more countries than most people read about in storybooks. And so going to like Peru and literally watching people like wanting to work for $3 a day, like $3 a day, just to be able to keep their four walls like up and holding things up. And here we are in America, too afraid to be like, hey, I am going to go after my dreams. Hey, I am going to date this person. Hey, I am going to text this person back. Hey, I am going to go and like try to run a team. When I was in the pest control space, I literally had to restart every single year to recruit and rerun a team. Every year I had to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And so many people would sit back of like, okay, we're crumbling. We're doing all these things. Oh, I don't have the tools. I don't have whatever. They're crippled because of fear. We would rather sit in our beds in anxiety and fear of perception of others than to actually get up and take action. We are missing the mark on acting and doing too much of this. Like,
so then you kind of give the sickness and the solution or the antidote, right? Fear. And I totally agree with that. I love that. And you think the cure to that, to someone who's fear, just action.
Yes. In
right?
whatever capacity.
Yep.
You want to be a better dad, go do it.
Yep.
Get up, like go start doing it.
Yep.
Like my husband, he hates when I rave about him. He is like such a big like family man. Like literally he texted me on my way here. Don't forget it's in your calendar. It's family time at this time. If you want to be a great dad, get up and go and act. If you want to be a mom and run a business, get up and go do it. Like stop allowing fear and anxiety to keep you behind screens like the rest of society who are mediocre.
Yep.
I do not want to die as a mediocre human.
Yep.
And you will die as a mediocre human if you continue to stop doing things out of fear and anxiety.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that. I think that's absolutely golden. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so I only have one more question. Studio you, everybody. And I know we cram this in between all of your meetings, so thank you again. So it's so freaking fun. Like I could literally like mics off, cameras off. We could chat for hours.
Same.
And I could enjoy every second of it. And thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this so far. Last question. I use it as a closing question sometimes, or a lot of the time. So the podcast title's Today's the Day.
Okay.
Whole purpose, whole thought behind that, meaning behind that, like the reason for that is ever since I was in high school, one of the most impressed upon me things that I have not been perfect in living, but I understand and I recognize is today really is the day. Yesterday happened.
Yep.
Right. Tomorrow might not even happen unless we're really, really lucky. Right. So today's kind of all you got.
Yeah.
What advice do you have to people to go and just live that way, whether they're in the most stressful time of the season for their occupation, or maybe they're in the most relaxed time, or whatever it may be, whatever season they're in their life? Like, what advice do you have to go and really, really live as if this is what we got? May as well go make the most of it. And why do that?
Yeah. I am the problem and I am also the solution to anything and everything in my life, whether it's being a mom, whether it's running a team, whether it's being a VP, whether it's recruiting, whether it's any aspect. Like I am literally the problem and the solution at the same time. And so today, I want to have like a better relationship, with my daughter. She's in her teen years. She's all these things. So what did I do? Go find like the best mentor, therapist, all those things who's going to put her and I in a room to chit chat like every day. Like I am the solution to all the problems that I have in my life.
That is really, really, I mean, that's so powerful because it takes all the power that most people give.
Yep. We give it away.
And you just keep
Yep.
it. And when you have all the power, you have no excuses. It eliminates fear, everything.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Suli, I freaking love you. You're the best. Thank you so much again. You're amazing. That's really all I have to say. We're going to do another one. That's what I have to say. I can't wait to see what you go and do.
Thank you so much, Zod, just for like the space and for the time. And anyone who wants to connect, you can find me on Instagram, Female Knockers Unite. I do have a podcast as well for those of you women who are going on blitzes, going out. Like definitely, I don't get anything in return. It's just I want to see more women win in the space. So definitely tune in. And just thank you, Zod, just for the example and for the platform.
Thank you. I can't wait to see what you do. I love you a ton. Everybody else for tuning in, thank you guys, and much love until next time.